It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent his messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose. But by them understanding through those who have become Messiahs, to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness. By giving will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of the president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but we star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand. To be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 76th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, May 14th, 2019. This is a broadcast from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. It's part of the public teachings in English. I am one of the hosts today, Rick Crammond, along with Flint Mulhausen. And of course, we are joined, as we always are, with Carolina Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And I believe she's ready to begin today's workshop. Not sure how the connection is there yet. We may have a limited connection briefly, but Carolina, are you there?
Yes, I am, Rick. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome my team, welcome all the knowledge seekers. And let's start. Who would like to bring a topic on the table today? Anybody, any questions? Or sharing? Nobody? It's going to be a slow start today.
Well, that's often the case here, it seems.
I think they need to warm up, people, or they just walk in and they're still trying to find. I hope you have your coffee and your tea ready. A nice big pot of coffee or tea or herbal tea. So, Rick, any ideas with what you would like to start?
Well, nothing comes to mind immediately. I know there's things happening in the world now, and there's a lot of sort of unrest and many sort of actions being taken on from various points of view. But we have two people with their hands up, Jalal and Dan. So perhaps Dan just put his hand down or something there. But Jalal, maybe you'd like to go ahead there. I'm just going to promote you to panelists so we don't allow you to speak that way. There you are, Jalal. Do you want to go ahead?
Yes, hello, Rick. Hello, everyone. Hello, Caroline. I would like to open up discussion and teaching about the first aid because it's very necessary in this time and how we're going to apply it in all levels. Thank you.
The what? I didn't understand the first what?
First aid.
The first aid kit or?
Yes, all the knowledge, what's behind that.
Well, the facilities are on the wiki, so people can download the papers which they go step by step explaining, plastify them or laminate them that they don't get damaged in water. So you can preserve them for much longer. And on that list, you see all the material that you need. And maybe Flint can repost again the links which we were talking about yesterday in the ethos and in the soul teaching. It is the topic which was brought up on the table from what Mr. Keshe shared with us 2 weeks ago, the warning, and then the last week that the decision has been made. So you can all find the information where you are, in what zones you are. If that is the case, that is what is going to happen. Mr. Keshe said, just if you can, just move. But he also explained in the teachings for the people who cannot move or don't want to move or don't have that freedom. That was in the 101. What you need to have or make sure that you got it before something happens. The reason why I brought it up on the table was for the knowledge seekers which are in the zones that Mr. Keshe was referring to, if they want, by their own free will, that there is a way to connect with the knowledge seekers worldwide. You can call upon their help and support for you to be able to express what you would like and how you would like it, if you would like to move. And it's also an information that people who have no passports will have to acquire their passports and birth certificates, please. We are used to it in Europe because we are all carrying our ID cards and passports. It's something which I have always known as a child. From when you're born, you carry already a small passport, and when you become 12, you get your ID, and then sooner or later you request for a passport. It's a normal procedure with us. But apparently in a lot of countries, it's not a standard procedure. So do not forget to get your paperwork in order if you desire to travel. The reason now has come to light why we be requesting to so many knowledge seekers to start creating what we call reserve, that if you want to assist wherever it is, that you can, that you have sufficient enough material. If you're not sure about something, go back to the wiki and you will find all the information to double check if you make the ganses and the nano coating process the correct way. Are there any other questions, please? I want to make sure that there is transparency, there is understanding, and if people are worried, that they can share their feelings, they can come with their questions. Pardon. And then we can see where we see that the OASIS systems are already start getting created in different places. And they create conditions for people to be able to be relocated, short-term, long-term, doesn't matter. It can always be accommodated. You can find all the information. There is nothing short on our wiki. People have been really working very hard on it. I do appreciate and say thank you to all the ones who have done the translations, transcribing, and have put it up in public domain so people can go and take what they need.
I'm not sure where the page is for the plasmatic first aid on the wiki, but they do have this page called GANS Processing Internal and External Injuries. And here's the table of contents in that section. It talks about...
It's a screenshot. It has been even been updated very recently. It's a very colorful page. It has a lot of yellow in it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think many of the things on that page are in this internal external injuries document. I believe it's got about how to use GANS as a disinfectant, processing vi problems, processing viruses,
it's
ridding
like
the body of toxins. Pardon me?
I said it's like a charter. I'm going to see if
yeah, I know what you mean, but I couldn't find it in Wikipedia. Maybe somebody else can find it.
I'm going to see if I still have it in my blah, blah, blah. I'm falling over my words. If I have it in my library, because I took a screenshot. I remember that there was an old one, they changed it. Dr. Klaus was responsible for that. But I don't know if I still have it in my files. It's a while ago that we worked on that one. It was reviewed and put in order. It's step by step. It's a very easy way to follow.
Yeah, we must have it as a link somewhere. I'm just trying to find it here.
I want to give you an idea how it looks like. I know you most probably remember how it looks like.
Yeah, well, I can bring up a copy of it, but like I said, I'd like to bring up the copy that has the link to the Keshe Foundation version. Maybe we don't have one. It should be. It should be in the blueprint, or it should be in the... There should be a link in the website somewhere. So maybe
it's not under the name First Aid?
It should be Plasmatic First Aid, I believe is what it's called. Plasmatic. And I'll just bring up another version here and we'll have a look at that.
I will ask Dr. Klaus the minute he has a moment, time, but there are German people here in the classroom as well, which have received the first plasma aid kit from Dr. Klaus. Maybe they can share a picture from it. Is there anyone available here in the classroom? Or actually classroom, in the meeting? I don't have it. I don't see it appearing anywhere.
Just trying to get the image downloaded here. It's kind of awkward.
Is there anyone in public domain from Germany or Switzerland which has taken a picture from the first aid kit which was received through Dr. Klaus? Then people have a better idea how it can look. Because they are promoting, they're working with it.
Carolina,
Yes.
this is Peggy. I know the document that you're looking for. I have not been able to locate one that was completed through specifically a link within the organization through the foundation. But the one that I have seen circulating, and it does get changed. I've noticed some changes as it reaches other people's hands. So I was doubting that we want to use that because, for example, I know in emergency situations we can do nano coating by fire, but that is one of the things that was on this particular plasmatic first aid kit that was sheet that was cycling through. So that was one reason that I put it off to the side, because if there's one thing that I question, then it's possible that something else has been corrected incorrectly, so to speak, or added to incorrectly. So that's what I wanted to bring up. If you're looking for one of the ones that was floating around being shared, that may not be the correct one as well.
I just sent a message to Dr. Klaus, so I will see when he responds. I'm just trying to see if Andreas is here. Is Andrea Fogger here from Austria? Because he's working on the wiki. Most probably he knows his way to where to find it.
Don't think he's here.
I can invite him and see if he's going to respond. Oh, we will come across it. It will pop up. Klaus will send me most probably what he needs to go through his messages to see it popping up. So we'll wait. You will be there. Unfortunately, I don't have it on my phone anymore because I have to remove. I can't keep everything on my phone. It's too much. But it's okay. So there is a first aid kit. I don't see the person from Switzerland either. Maybe they will come in later on. It still is early in Europe. It's late afternoon, but they might be still at work or so. We'll wait till they appear. So
I've got a version from December of 2016, but I'm not sure if that's the latest version. So I don't want to show it. Okay.
It was the new version. 2016. No, that's old. It has been adjusted. I'm gonna bother you with all my tapping to find it. But I know it has been updated to 2018 because Flint, you received it back updated. You don't remember? I have too much on my phone now. I'm not going to bother you with it.
No, I'm trying to locate it. I don't have it.
It's definitely somewhere, but it is too long ago that I have seen it. It was last year and he updated it to 2018. So I know there is a new version on our website, for sure. Then you have the very, very simplistic one from Renan, who came, that was the first paint pen. So you have different ways, but if I may advise people, what I have picked up is that some knowledge seekers have problems when they explain to me what they are doing and how they are doing. I notice that they are making mistakes. And apparently it is when they are learning from other knowledge seekers and they are not following the procedure the way we have taught it. So if you want to double check before you learn or you put your expenses on it to do and get all the material, please double check with the Keshe Foundation. We got everything beautiful lined out. You don't need to make mistakes. It is always better to have a second opinion, to look around, to get the right information. Peggy just reminded me. It is unfortunately, but once you pick it up the wrong way or you get it taught by somebody else and they don't follow the correct procedure, you can make mistakes. And to avoid that, just simply go back to the Keshe Foundation. All the information is there. And also, as we have been progressing and finding out, and we have always been adjusting our documents, so it should be able, voila, there it is. Is that the new one?
I believe so. The date on the file is March of 18.
2018.
Yeah, so it's about a year ago.
That is the correct one.
Does it say December 2016 at the top?
Doesn't say any date in the document, but the file date's 2018 of March.
Okay, because the old one says December 16th at the top where it says plasmatic first aid.
Hello, it's Sandor here. Please check at the table metal 1, metal 2, GAN's effect on the header and CH3. It said it's made from iron and nano-coated copper. So where is the galvanized iron with zinc-coated iron? Do you think that's correct for CH3? Come on, knowledge seekers. Who
I don't even see it on there. Oh, I see on that table.
I'm pinched and magnified on a tiny, small iPhone 5.
This is not the correct one.
Yeah.
This is not correct. No, iron is not used.
Yeah.
So errors can be made by people. So, but when something is so beautiful and fancy and decorative and beautiful, it's spread with light speed just because of its beauty, and the error remains.
Yeah.
Yes. So I will get an answer back from Dr. Klaus because this must be an old one which he has adjusted.
Sure, it was already adjusted. Just there are still too many of the old versions, the wrong versions in circulation. That's the issue. So never rely on abbreviated data. Always look for the full teaching. Abbreviated data is good as a reminder, but it's not replacing the original teaching.
It's what we call like I have the right name for it. Just 1 second.
Memo.
Nah, I just put the paper away because I got myself some. It is called galvanized zinc.
So there are so many teachings where Mr. Keshe explained repeatedly and repeatedly how the GANs of CH3 is made. Just by heart, I tell you, when we have been in Rome, at the last conference in Rome, and it was a public teaching there, they also had a beautiful teaching with all the details. But there were several other teachings as well.
Thank you, Sander. I know that it has been an adjustment because there was another, they removed the fire coating as this is only in if you have nothing else to that you can help yourself, but we don't advise it. And
Paulina, can
yes,
I interrupt for a second? I found a version from 2018 and I forwarded this to Flint on Zoom. So Flint, if you can look it up and check if it's okay. It has a zinc-coated iron for CH3 and it doesn't seem to have the fire coating in it.
Okay.
I do know that Dr. Klaus has adjusted the whole file, so it should be appearing as the correct one.
One moment, I'll get that here.
And did you find, Pete, did you find the link from it, please?
No, I had it as an offline file, but I can now look for the link, see if I can find it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it should be on the Keshe Foundation site, or if it's not, put there.
We don't use CO2 to facilitate the field extraction of the CH3. Yes, this is the correct one. It looks like it.
It does have the nano coating by torch or fire method right underneath the chart there.
Again?
Yep.
So version control system, it's a mysterious art.
No, it's not correct. Get it
Yeah.
off. It's not
Sorry
correct.
for the bracket, so the parenthesis. It happened, I worked at a corporation in marketing.
Move it,
We have made,
Flynn.
we have
Take
made
it
about 10 versions of the company leaflet, and finally the second version got printed.
Flint, can you remove it, please? It's not correct.
Mm-hmm.
Can you close the window, please?
I just edit the PDF file here.
He's actually modifying the file itself right now.
Yeah, but I want Dr. Klaus to go through it.
Yeah.
He took the responsibility for it. It
Okay.
might be that they have left the fire coating there in case of emergency because it's a first aid print. It's not a standard procedure. People have to remember that it is a first, pardon, it's a first aid kit explanation. So I would not touch it until you get the okay from Dr. Klaus.
Yeah. Okay.
If you can, Pete, can you send me the file so I can double check with Dr. Klaus, please? Send it in Telegram, please. Then I can forward to him.
Yes, and I I agree with what you said about, that emergency fire coating, because it's been reduced to that very tiny little box, so it might be there for a reason,
Yeah, that's why I don't want to reject it 100%, but I just want to make sure, double check with Klaus that this is okay, and then we bring it back up if it is the correct file. Thank you very much. And it is marked as a first aid, but he has a picture of the first aid kit, which he made, and it would be nice to show it to people. Most probably it's going to come on our website when we have time to assemble it. We are working very hard everywhere. We are short hands and short in time. And it's a normal complaint from the Keshe Foundation. We have too much to do and not enough time to do. Does anybody have any other questions, please? So Jalal, we're going to bring back the first aid picture. So people need to remember that this is a process when you are stranded somewhere or you are in problem, that you can help yourself. You can find most of the things, even if houses are destroyed, you can get to the electric wiring. You can find a lot of things, even in the rubbish. And please, Mark Carlton, we do not put iron nails anywhere near. You get not a CH3, you get something else. This is for people who know what they're doing. Please. CH3 is made the way it was explained on the charter with galvanized zinc.
It would be galvanized iron, you mean? Galvanized chicken wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, because zinc is the galvanizing. Galvanizing means a zinc plating. That's
yes.
what galvanizing is.
Caroline,
so, Mark may have meant iron nails that had a zinc coating, like galvanized nails.
It says iron nails would help to start the CH process. We do not put iron because you do not know what is in the iron. I asked him 3 weeks ago, because I have started the process of ganses at home, brand new, all 4 ganses. And apparently, even by mistake, I've been producing H2. So you need to know, and I have a very good access because I can just ask Mr. Keshe, what am I producing here? And he says the difference is that the composition of the plates you're using have a different content. You think it is, but apparently it shows something else because it has the same color as CH3 nearly, but it is different. And he says that is H2 you're producing, not CH3. He says, just keep it aside, and I will get the explanation for what to use it later on. I found a very beautiful way how to make deuterium, the easy way. And, but don't, because I had found those old bars which the farmers use to fence off land, and it has it's like a groove in it, like a big nail, but I have parts of it and they rust, so I know it is iron. I said, can I put this, because I remember also he was talking about it. He said, no, because you don't know what is in the iron. You do not know where it comes from. You don't know the content. So be safe with what you use. If it is for experimenting, no problem. It's fine. But you got to find out for what purpose exactly you're going to make. Don't use aluminium. A lot of people are throwing aluminium foil with the nano coating process because it speeds the process up. Please don't do. If you remember 3-4 teachings ago, Mr. Keshe explained because Peggy, I brought the water purification up, and Peggy asked the right question. In Flint, they have a problem that they have those metals in the water. And Mr. Keshe said, you can't come near with any gases to those things. So don't produce them because you contaminate whatever you're going to touch with it. And just look it up, how badly lead and aluminium are for a person. So don't toss aluminium foil in your nano coating process, please don't. Nor you should put iron nails in it. You know, for what is being shared, you want to try it, fine, but don't share it to everyone if they don't, because knowledge seekers just pick it up as Sander just mentioned, and then they go the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that Mark meant galvanized nails. He has an additional note, no, must have galvanized coating on the iron. So that's what he meant. But of course, when he made his statement, he said that Klaus did say the zinc coating on mesh or iron nails would help. So the way he wrote it, it could be misconstrued to say the zinc coating on the mesh or iron nails as two separate things, rather than the zinc coating on the mesh or the zinc coating on iron nails would help. So it's an example of trying to help with details, but they could be misconstrued a couple of different ways quite easily, which is some of the problems with trying to condense the material that we're putting out here all into one page. Is a lot of information, and it could be taken different ways. So we have to try to eliminate that as much as possible. That
it is therefore that I was reading it and I saw it coming, that I respond to it. Be careful, people. Try to stick to the basic teaching of Mr. Keshe and what we are trying to spread. And if you're not 100% sure, please do double check.
Caroline, may
Yes.
I add something? Galvanized nails or bolts or whatever, or chicken mesh or any mesh, that is low carbon steel galvanized with zinc. But there are two methods. There's an electrolytic galvanizing, which is very thin and it's normally very shiny, and there is hot dip galvanizing, which is thick and it's normally opaque. If you want to make sure you have a good galvanized object, would be a bolt from a high tension tower. They are hot dipped galvanizing. The zinc is thick and opaque, so you don't have any iron exposed to the water. In a nail, a galvanized nail, which is shiny, or any iron object, be it a spanner, be it hinge or whatever, if they are shiny, they are electrolytic galvanizing, and the zinc is very thin. Do you get what I mean?
Sorry for adding something. May I add something?
Go ahead, Shando.
We know there is this method of hot dip zinc coating.
Yes, I had a factory.
Galvanizing comes from the name of the scientist Galvani, who used electric power to deposit metal on another metal. That's galvanizing. And hot dip coating, it's another method. And be careful. Sometimes some companies use process which use one layer of lead as well before to add the zinc, because it will adhere better.
That's why I'm telling you.
You have to be sure about the quality of the material from the producer.
I had a galvanizing plant. We used to galvanize pipes, and I know the process inside out. And that's why I'm telling you, the high tension towers only use the proper galvanizing, hot dipped galvanizing, and with no additives. If you use the galvanized sheets used on roofs and they've got a flowery effect, that has aluminum added to it to give it that effect.
Yes, and many others, case by
And
case.
then and some bolts are yellowish, and that they add cadmium or other metals.
What about the typical chicken wire that's recommended most of the time?
Well, it all depends. There are electrolytic wires and there are hot dip galvanizing. If it withstands a long time, it's a hot dipped galvanizing, which is good because it's thick. The electrolytic one is very thin normally. It doesn't withstand seawater mist. The process is tested with a seawater mist. If it doesn't last for a couple of days, it's no good for towers because it'll oxidize soon. You get what I mean?
Therefore, you may choose
yes,
different.
I do, but I don't know if I would remember in the middle of an emergency situation which one was it? Was it this one I'm supposed to use or that one I'm supposed to use? And trying to find out all that would be difficult.
What you choose for long resistance in the weather, it's not the best for making gains with it. So it's preferable to use the galvanized instead of the hot dip method.
Because you might not want a thick coating, is what you're saying, Shandor. You need a thin coating in order to allow the fields to penetrate more and so on.
Exactly, and there are many other metal parts which are galvanized, not just chicken wire. There are so many small metal accessories which are used together with nuts and bolts in construction or in carpentry.
Well, the best thing we could do is experiment with both a bolt with a shiny surface and a bolt with a opaque surface and see what happens. That's what a friend of mine is doing right now.
That was exactly what I wanted to tell. Set up 2 or 3 boxes with different galvanized and see how your CHC comes out. It should be an indicator of what it is. And that's why I kept on saying to people, don't wait till it's too late. Start your production now so that you have them in stock. They don't go bad, your ganses. Don't worry. You can keep them in jars. You can keep them in plastic bottles. They stay good. And it's better to be ready now and have all your tests and test runs done than when you have to kickstart when it's too late. And for people who don't want to take the risks, that they don't want to make mistakes, please get advice from knowledge seekers which are experienced, and always double check, please. And there is one thing I need to say. If you have, some people are complaining that their production doesn't kickstart. It depends on the amount of salt you have used. A lot of people stay very low with their salt percentage. But if it really doesn't want to work, just increase your salt content. Go from 5 to 10. And if it still is not working, go to 15. You will lose your plates much faster, but your production at least will kickstart. And a lot of knowledge seekers seem to have that problem. It's I have a very, very curious and very particular way of, I found it out myself, that in one place in the house, I get a beautiful, quite fast CH3 production. And the boxes next to it, because I put them in line, they are not producing. They just give me that little orange color in the box, but they are not giving me no CH3. So I remove them and put the box which is producing on the side, and I place each one at a time in the position where the box was producing, and they start production. So it is very important to take notice of that as well, why certain boxes are producing and certain are not. It is a field strength, it's what is in the house, in your house. And if you pay attention, you can pick up all these little details and maybe share them with other knowledge seekers which are complaining about bad production or so. It's a field strength. If you place your boxes too close or in different directions, it matters a lot.
There was one other hint you gave one day that was very important. Do you remember what that was? It was about the temperature. And you were talking one time about if it's too cold, then it can tend to make the reaction go slow. So it's good to keep your GANS boxes in a warm location.
The most important thing is to keep your nano coating process around, if you can, 40 degrees. Keep your box very warm when you're nano coating. You get a beautiful nano layer. And your GANS is minimum 25 degrees. The room temperature has to be minimum 25 to have a beautiful production. So I keep heating in a small room, so the production is okay. It keeps up. But with the CH, that was a very, very strange phenomenon that in that exact one spot, it produces, and it doesn't matter where else I put it, it doesn't want to produce. It's something you just pick up by experience. But you're right, keep everything nice and warm, especially when you do nano coating. And take your time to build up the layers. Don't go too fast to pick them up. If you want to go speedo presto after 24 hours, you can take them out. But mine are usually there for 2, 3, 4 weeks before I drain the water. And then I still let them to go growing the fields when I reduce the water to about 1 centimeter in the box. And I keep everything very nicely warm. And I have a beautiful black nano coating. So the minute I have news from Dr. Klaus, I will get you the correct paper with the necessary explanation. Anybody else? Any questions?
We have
Yes.
Dean with his. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chandra.
Sorry, Rick. I was going to ask something. Some of us produce nano-coated coils that we want to stick to different materials. What's the best way to glue them? What's the best glue so it cannot be harmful for everyone? I know
it is nano-coated, you cannot glue it. Nano-coated surface doesn't stick.
What do you mean by nano-coating? What do you mean by sticking to something else? For what purpose?
For example, I want to make a surface with nano-coated coils. A surface like a bed frame or a chair, or seat. I don't know what's it called.
Just to hold them in place, you mean?
Yes. I know hot glue is not indicated. So I'm searching for alternatives because many people...
You can use hot glue. It keeps them flexible enough where they should be, and we use see-through super glue. So hot glue you can use to keep them in place.
But
Otherwise with tape, if you don't want them to move. If it's just surface to hold on to, I just put a black tape on it to hold them in place.
Okay. I knew hot glue is not indicated to be in direct contact with nano-coated materials.
It contains bisphenol.
Nothing is good to keep nano coating, but the best way is to pardon. Have you ever seen a Maggraf system opened up?
Not one from the factory, just ones that are built by many people.
Okay, so you can find somewhere in the supermarket, you know, like from a flat sieve that you can attach them with a plastic strapper, a zip strapper. So I do not know how you call these things. You know, you have to put the end through the top, and then you can...
Zip tie is one word for them, or zap strap. Sometimes they're called as well.
Yes.
Zip tie and zap strap.
If you have the structure, you can zip tag them and hold them in place without glue, without anything else, and you don't damage the... You hold them in place, that's what you want.
Of course, the mechanical solutions for this placement is the best one. But for things that are not... For example, I'm trying to replicate the Klaus plasma field reactor, plasma field unit, sorry. And I have the antenna coil and one piece of plastic that's meant to protect this antenna. And I don't know how to stick it in there, and a mechanical solution is not very adequate.
What you also can do, pardon. Do you know those strips they sell in hardware stores? Then you heat them up with a blow heater and they shrink around the cable. They usually use them in electric shops.
Shrink wrap, that's called.
Yes, yes.
And then you protect your cable and you keep your nano coating intact, and you can touch your cable, and then you just use the exits, the external parts for what you want them to be attached or to go into, or make the connections. So your wire is nano coated, but you can also buy copper wire from pardon, an electric wire which has the plastic coating already on it. You just cut the ends of the plastic off, and you just put them in your nano coated to go nano coating. They will come out, if you give them time enough, they will nano coat right across. So then you don't need to shrink wrap them in plastic, and you have a nano coated wire.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So you have different ways of helping yourself, and usually your nano coating, as long as you, if it is to pass through the information, then the shrink wrap is okay, the wire nano coated inside is okay. But if you have to have the wires exposed or the nano coated piece not touched by anything, then you place it usually in a very fine plastic tube. You know, you can find these different sizes of plastic tubes for aquariums and passing water through. But you can go to a very, very fine size, and then the tip of it just fits in it. and they stay, then you can position them the way where you want them and how you want them. That's also a nice way of helping yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. Indeed, it's a better way instead of using glue. So I think this is the best to avoid any glue.
But why are you willing to replicate Dr. Klaus's health unit?
Because I don't have the money to buy one, so I want to test it myself, and I want to...
How you want to test it if you don't know how it works? It was never released, the blueprint of it. You can make something which looks like, but you will never be sure what the original does. Try to replicate a Japanese ball bearing and put it on a motor and see how long it lasts. In the past, there were many companies in East Europe who did that. And we know all what was the result. You have to understand it first, to understand its quality, not its shape. Okay, I understand what you mean, but it doesn't work in that way. It really doesn't work in that way. You cannot replicate a Toyota car and to run like a Toyota car. You understand?
And I have a few ideas, but they are starting from Klaus's idea, but...
There is a lot of research behind. There is a lot of research ongoing. So better innovate. Don't imitate. Better innovate.
Yes, this is what I'm trying to do, of course.
Okay. Good luck.
Well, if I don't succeed, at least I can share and people not waste their time to try it. So it's just for experimentation purposes. Yes, thank you very much.
Hello there, Caroline.
Oh, yes, I'm here. I'm listening. And Klaus has a very good point. Not to spook people off, but to make them very wary. We are working, we have months and months of research, try, test, error. Everything is built by testing and changing. And even when we do a prototype, we are still finding more and better adjustments. So the blueprint is actually never finished because, and even when we have finished the system, Mr. Keshe puts you already in the direction of a new development, and you can call that system as good as obsolete. So it is continuously evolving. And please remember, as Sander said, don't play doctor, don't play with anything you have no understanding from, because you are responsible. But at the same time, we all are responsible because we put it to you. Be responsible enough to take the responsibility in what you make, how you make it. And as Mr. Keshe said, under your roof, in your own house, you can do whatever you like. But the minute you hand it out to other people, you have to be very careful because you take responsibility. It's not a game. Don't look at it as a game. Try with yourself. Do whatever you like with yourself. And if your family members are okay with it, that's fine. But rely on the foundation. When they produce these kind of systems, they are complete. Otherwise, Mr. Keshe will never give his okay to go into the market or in the shops or even to be shared or even be the knowledge to be passed on to nobody if it is not 100% in order. We have had a hiccup with a misunderstanding and everything is just stops. Everything goes overboard and you can start all over again. So if you make a tiny little mistake, which you don't do on purpose. God believe me, you don't do. But please be responsible enough not to go and make these kind of mistakes. Don't go in the medical field just into what you know. Take full responsibility, because you are. That's why we are encouraging people to go as a distributor or as a manufacturer to deal with the knowledge and the materials that they, when you do so, you know that they are correct. They are not released if they are not perfectly in order. And even then so, we are still improving every day, because teams are working everywhere to make it as good as possible. And new science comes on our table every day. And I remember that very clearly, because at the beginning, when Mr. Keshe started explaining to me, when I said, this cannot be held back, this has to go in public, I still remember those conversations, and these are so long ago. He said, he was working, and I was following his progress, and within a week, he says, Caroline, it's already obsolete, he says. Everything what I've done until today, he says, I can just throw it away, because I already have gone a step higher. And this hasn't stopped. We're 20 years later, and still what was so beautiful yesterday is obsolete, because the development has brought a new way, a better way, a more complete way, and we just keep on progressing. So the foundation is maturing, the research centers are maturing, but you also knowledge seekers are maturing. So please take full responsibility for what you do. And it's never too late to stop if you realize you're doing something wrong, and start fresh again. And if you don't know, there are sufficient enough knowledge seekers which can give you a hand to find your path in the foundation and to assist you to do it the right way. It is more important than you can even imagine. So stay within your own home with all your experience. That's perfectly fine. But don't pass them on to nobody if you're not fully knowledgeable from A to Z, why and how. Please don't. That's why the certifications are required, because then you are in line with the correct knowledge. You will not harm yourself nor anyone else. Please respect that.
In what I'm concerned, I only am into testing it myself, and that's it.
That's great.
Nobody else, neither from my family and from my house or whatever. Yes.
There are things which we are all sharing, like spraying the walls to keep the temperature stable, keeping animals out, God knows what, because we just changed the fields. You're working with the plasma field, because you got to understand. You think it's only for you. The minute you become a knowledge seeker, the minute you do your nanocoating process, the minute you start creating your ganses and you start experimenting, it doesn't matter with what, but if you have started the nanocoating process, you are a beaming light for kilometers, because the plasmas you're creating within your environment go everywhere. So everybody is already baptized. That's why we keep on reminding people, don't work with lead, don't work with aluminium. These are two toxins you don't want anywhere near your ganses, because you don't work only with the water or with the material, you work in plasma field strength. So be aware with what you even experiment within your own house, because it goes everywhere. You can't, it has no boundaries. It's like your soul. It's like your aura field. It goes wherever it likes. Keep it in mind, please. Remember the presentation from Tom Salas. It will give you a pretty good idea how far you are radiating out when you have become a knowledge seeker in his beauty. You understand?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You cannot exclude even your neighbors, and a few neighbors a few 1,000 meters away, they're all affected with what you're up to within your own house. Just remember Tom Salas.
Yes, I remember Tom Salas, and what I can say, people who come into my house say they have a wonderful feeling and they feel very well and in peace. I didn't go to hydrogen, tritium, or deuterium gas, just the main 4 gases. This is all I have in my house, and of course, nano-coated copper and zinc coils for producing gas. But at this point, I don't have any gas reactor started in my house. I only have nano-coating reactors.
Good.
Okay, we've got Dean that's had his hand up for a while here. Maybe we could hear what he has to say.
Can I be heard?
Yes, Dean, go ahead.
Oh, wonderful. I have been a knowledge seeker and truly part of this group for a long time. And I have been, when the Gants, we were, with the intermittent current going through, and I've always been trying to figure out exactly how, step by step, what do I need to do in order to begin the beginning process where I don't have to go through a learning curve, where I can take what I have here and have access, because I have access to everything, and start the production of the materials to produce the GANs today. Because it's real interesting where I live, we're having an event and lasting through a while, and it's going to drastically affect the food production of the world because of the weather that's coming that's so freakish right now. So, and I've been trying to figure out, how do I make for myself and then be able to teach others to do the same in an emergency. And I don't have that information. And with what you're doing today, I'm glad it's happening today, because I know that I will, as somebody who says, hey, we're in a lot of trouble right now, and we have our way to help each other. And here it is. Let's get together and use the resources we have in order to build our infrastructure. And I don't have a lot else to say, except I'm really glad to be here today. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can help you if you actually can and have, and you're really in an awkward position. And I mean awkward position. Try to find an old copper pot or a copper cup and just nano-coat it. Take your time.
I have a nano-coated fire pit that is untouched by human hands, but it has been used as a fire pit, and it is pure copper, and it's black.
So put it in the rain, let it be washed by rainwater, yeah?
Okay, and it'll happen tomorrow.
And just let it fill up, and when you see it's becoming enough water by the rain, just rinse it and throw all the water away. Pardon, and then let it fill up with rainwater.
Well, it's so weird because we're going to actually have rain, and we never have rain. It's not part of our, what do you call it? It's not part of our system. Now I nano-coated wire with, what do you call it? With heat. And I have caustic soda, so I could coat, and I have lots of wire.
Yeah. Once you have nano coating wires, you can always start. You can keep them aside for a very long time till you need them. But the best way to help you or to help yourself or your family is to use the copper cup, nano coated, let it fill up with rainwater, rinse it, and then let it fill up with new fresh rainwater, and you have everything you need from the universe. So
just a minute. Let me clarify. So what you're saying is, if I take this vessel that I already have, and I take the wood out, the wood ash, which has caustic soda in it anyway, because when ash has the caustic in there. Just that vessel becomes a drawer of energy into of all of the fields.
Just I'm sharing a picture with you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I see that.
Okay. You see the cup standing on a plastic sheet. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. They are in the grass and they have been filled up with rainwater.
Okay.
You see there are two cups in the middle which are not nano-coated.
Okay.
They're just
the white ones.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
So you can see the different colors within the cups. They each have taken a different procedure because that's what Mr. Keshe has. He has done the nano coating from these. That's why you see the colors here. Now, if the picture is clear enough for you,
it's beautiful.
You can see that the cups are not full, all equal. They all have different. That shows you what Mr. Keshe is explaining in his teachings, that it is correct. Even the cups only take what they need. Because the first time I brought them out and I forgot to take a picture, it was too late before I realized it, but I noticed it and I shared it with Mr. Keshe. That was the reverse. The two white cups were completely full and all the other cups had barely any water in it, but in different levels. He says, yes, because they only take what they need. So apparently they must have needed more because they filled up more. And it is beautiful. They are just sitting in nature and each cup has its own properties. But if you make your cup with your nano coating or you use that firing pit, which is copper, just wash it out. These have all been washed with rainwater, emptied, and then I put them in the grass and I just let them fill up by rain. And I put a few buckets of rainwater, empty buckets outside to collect more rain. And then I just keep on filling them up with the rainwater because the field strength sits in the rainwater, not in the tap water.
I have a question. Where I live, we don't see the sun very often because from day to night, our skies are continually being coated with a aluminum, the chemtrails. So anything that comes through our rain is going to be heavily infiltrated with the aluminum. Now, is that a challenge if aluminum is a problem in creating GANs? What do we do with the fact that the rainwater itself is just washing down what's already been put in the atmosphere through aerosol spraying.
Maybe you want to use distilled water in that case.
That's what I'm wondering, because I have a distiller. That's what I drink. And I'm just asking, is rainwater always the best option? Because here, you know, shoot, they're even putting in glycosides into the aerosols that they spray regularly on our crops, but it's even going into the air in order to damage us down here.
Where are you from?
I am from Kingsburg, California. Sun-Made Raisins, you've probably heard them. That's in our little town. So we're the valley in the center of California that produces, in many cases, 80% of any certain crops. And we're about to get hit, slammed, just like the Midwest got slammed.
Were you in Mr. Keshe's last teaching?
I was not in the last one, but I listened to the knowledge seekers before that. I try to get as much as I can, you know, like about 5 hours a week. I'm able to get within this particular realm. And
I would like to advise you to listen to Mr. Keshe's last Thursday teaching, please.
Okay, I will do that. I'll do that today.
It's very important for you. And Rick is correct. If you can't trust your water, I have a way to clear your water as much as you can, and you can make it yourself.
Okay.
It came about very funny that my fishes were getting poisoned in the tank, and my filter was not pulling, and I could see my fishes just turning black because of the ammoniac and the nitrates which were collecting in the water. And I put a water filter in it, but that was just filtering the dirt, not the water.
Right.
So I used, we sat down, me and Mr. Keshe, for 2-3 hours on the phone. And you take tights from ladies, you know, tights?
Yes.
Nylon. Yeah. So I cut them in pieces. I knotted them so nothing can escape. I always use double so that they really hold on to the dust. I took charcoal out of my barbecue. I crushed it, I washed it, and then I put it in the tights and I knotted the tight. I put it in my water filter and I closed my water filter. And then on the exit of the water filter, to be 100% sure to protect my fish, I took one of the small swimming pool filters, you know, those out of carbon. There's like
Yes.
a paper wrapped, you can buy these very small ones. And again, I made the same procedure, a tight charcoal in it, and I stashed it in the middle of the filter, and then I pulled another tight over the filter, and I attached it to the exit of the water filter. So I have a double passing of the water through the two carbon tights, yeah?
Correct, I understand. Activated carbon would do the same thing, only be a lot more effective. I mean, per weight.
For your water cleaning, purification, yes. My fishes, within 3 days, they start losing all the black spots. 1 week later, all the spots are gone. I have not touched anything for 3 weeks now, and they are happy and they are beautiful. I minimize the food I'm giving, that I make sure that they finish all of it, and they are in, and the water is as clear as anything. So you can help yourself with, as you say, you have a burning pit. Just ask your wife for her tights, cut them in pieces, do them double, and put your water through it. You will have that kind of water you can put in your copper cup.
Okay, now it's actually a fire pit, and I have a video. Where is it? And let me see if I can. There's nothing like a visual. Let's see if I still have video. Yes, I still have video. Can you give me screen share?
I think you can.
Rick, can you give me screen share?
Yeah, we'll promote you to panelists there so you can share. You should be able to do that now, I think.
Okay, thank you. Now, okay, you cannot start your video because the host has disabled it. Okay, so if you can.
Do you want video or do you want to share?
It'll be video.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we're going to do it one more. Okay, I think I got it now. Okay. I'm still waiting for the video. Can we get my video? You cannot start your video because the host has disabled it. Am I still on? Probably not.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to try the video again. There, we got it. Okay, now let me turn my camera around because there we go. This is what I'm talking about. This is pure copper. And it is definitely nano-coated. And within it, I have the ash. And I know that the ash is real high in both salts and it's high in, well, it's lye. You know, all of the stuff for nanocoating is right in there. And this is a vessel that I'm talking about. And anyway, so this is my copper vessel. And I think that might give you a little bit of the information. So that's what I'm working with.
Well, it's a lovely big copper vessel, so you're fortunate that way.
Oh yeah, and well, that's what I'm saying. If that's the heart of my operation, you know, that's my petri dish with my culture. Where do I go from here? And with that,
go ahead.
Well, you probably have something to say because I think I might have already put out my questions, and so now
so you could use that as a basic vessel to make GANs, for example. All you have to add is the zinc to get the CO2, GANs, but you have to make sure it is indeed nano coated, because by the time it's cleaned off and so on, is it going to have a black coating due to the smoke from the fire?
Oh no, this has been from time, because I've had it for probably a decade, and
so it's black on the outside and the inside as far as that goes, right?
It's black on the outside. It's black all over. It's got a nano coating, and then the material, the wood ash, is both high in salts, and it's that's how
alkaline and so on as well.
It's very alkaline. That's how you can process olives with the ash from that I have in there.
Right.
So,
But also
it's
you have to think about, okay, that meant you were burning some wood. So what was in the wood to start with?
oh,
And where did the wood come
right,
from?
right, right.
And what was the wood sprayed with during its lifetime, and all of the heavy metals that was in the wood, and all the different things that were part of wood is now part of that ash as well.
Yes, yes, I know. We're in that situation everywhere where we have to, stake perhaps a claim in the ground that we stand on, saying that there's been all this shit that's happened all around us, and everything that we have, we're having to, we're having to purify, and we don't have any real pure things to work with except the fields that bring in physicality. So I'm, I can go down those roads real easy and real quick. But if you're in a situation, and we are in, and as a world, we're in that situation right now, where we need to take a look around and say we have a population to feed, and we do have all, and we need to make sure there's heat. And if agriculture or actually consuming of food for subsistence is going to be continually and necessary, we know our food supply is put with, glycosides and all sorts of nasty stuff. So we already know that. Mm-hmm. But right now.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're absolutely right. And that's why Carolina suggested the last workshop where Mr. Keshe explains in detail the nature of the situation now. But yeah, so let's say it's emergency situation, and right now, and here you are trying to communicate with the universe, and you've got your camera, and you've shown, look, I've got this big copper pot. How can I use this to generate what will be wealth in that situation? Wealth will be anything that creates food or medicine or better
exactly
health,
exactly
and anything that will affect people in a positive way, right? So if you can create, CO2 GANs that suddenly replaces the fertilizer that they can't get anymore, or whatever.
Well, exactly. Well, the thing that is so important right now with the temperature fluctuation, being that I'm in agriculture is life here. Okay, we're crazy place, California anyway, but still the life that comes out of here and the transfer of so many things. This is one of the epicenters, and we may need right now to be able to raise the temperature tolerance of crops in order to be able to at least keep up with the disasters that have happened in other places around the world.
Exactly.
As far as food production. So it isn't like this is not theoretical. Okay, we're boots on the ground, and the war is happening now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm still
good approach.
And I'm here. I've got a good mind, and I have materials, and I have contact and everything else. So I'm just saying, as a knowledge seeker and somebody of the soul who spent more time on the soul and growing and building and art than the putting of the GANs, hoping that there was going to be time for me to learn that as it all got sorted out. But we're at war right now. The weather fronts are coming in.
Let's say you don't know hardly anything, but I know you do. I know, well, you know a lot, and you've been around a bit, and you've heard a lot, and so. But you let's say you haven't had the hands-on experience, and now it's almost panic time, and you're reaching out to the universe, and actually through your camera, live, real time. Here's what I have. What can I do with this? And
that's right.
In that way. you know, this could be the mode of operation in the future, if indeed we have the ability to communicate that way directly. Because
well, if I know and I teach 10 and we have the you know 3, well, we reach the world. So I just need to know.
Yeah, that's why the plasmatic first aid leaflet was very nice, especially if it's plastic coated, as suggested earlier by Caroline, I believe. Then it can be, you know, printed out and passed around in a situation that we don't have the digital communications.
Exactly.
But, let's say that we do have communications. It might be by telephone. It might be like the video camera that you just had here, which is, you know, there'll be some means of communication will be enabled, because there'll always be someone with ham radios or something in order to communicate.
Yes,
let's say we just are at the situation where we are now. You reached out. So what would you think would be a next step? Like we mentioned, that the nano-coated copper, that's seems to be one of the critical elements to establish some sort of physicality, you know, GANs, or to create the GANs water, or to create some of the environments and so on. So you've got this beautiful big copper
nano-coated vessel,
nano-coated vessel, and it's nano-coated naturally, but it may not have the totally correct nano-coating for the best GANs material, let's say. So, but yet you have the ashes there. You could boil down the ashes and create a caustic, actually right in the pot itself, perhaps, and that would
caustic's in the caustic's in the pot. The caustic's in the pot.
Well, ashes aren't just caustic by themselves. You have to make the lye from the ashes there's a process that they use.
Right, I understand. I understand the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So, but there's so much ash in there, and there's so much salt in there, and there's so much lye in there. I would think that solution, if it was put into solution, there'd be enough salts in there that would cause electrolysis. I have a multimeter that I could find out, but I can't imagine there not being enough salts in there to create both electrolysis, and there is the lye or the caustic in there for nano coating. I would think that you through a process of having perhaps the electrodes within the water that is sitting within the vessel, that you could have you may be able to put 3 or 4 different electrolysis systems within a plastic buckets with different electrodes in order to pull GANs out of the copper. Of course, you have the different fields. I don't know. I don't know. It's like
that's true. You might have a source of many salts and so on, but you'd have to separate and make either caustic or salt, because they're both used in different processes. The caustic being used to create the nano coating, and the salt being used to create the GANs.
Electrolysis, right?
Not electrolysis. We don't use electrolysis, actually.
Well, salt. Okay, what isn't there a galvanic current that's happening between the zinc and the copper and the salts in the water? Isn't that a electrical process?
You could call it an electrical process if you're an electrician or electronics person or someone that's very scientific in the normal scientific method, but it's not a word that Mr. Keshe would use in describing the plasmatic process.
Okay, which creates the gas.
Yes.
If I may interrupt you.
Yes, please.
It might be a very good idea for you gentlemen to go to the teaching of Rick, because he's an expert on those levels. And that's on Wednesday morning. That's a more appropriate time as well for you, I think. Because
Okay. Well, I'm going to be quiet. The question I have that's very important is the event starts tomorrow, and it's going to affect the food production and livelihood. And
by the time, my advice is pick up the links which are in the chat room of the Zoom. Flint can repost them.
Okay.
Listen to the previous teachings of Mr. Keshe. There are about 3 in session following up one another.
Okay.
The information is extremely important, which is in there. But start first to understand why I am referring you to those teachings, which is one of them is 101, and the others I forgot the numbers. But listen to Mr. Keshe's last Thursday morning teaching, please.
I will do that. I will.
And then come back on Wednesday morning, and I think Rick will be more than willing to advise you in more questions. But I think by the time you meet Rick, you will have a lot of answers to your question. And thank you for sharing. So the links can be posted in wherever we are open and running this channel. So please repost them again so people can pick them up. There has been a warning going out from Mr. Keshe last Thursday. And, it will be wise for people to go and listen to it, to understand why we are putting the topics on the table.
Okay. Thank you for your time, everybody. Rick, I'll probably talk to you this evening. Thank you so much. And I'll get on after this to the teachings from the last knowledge seekers. Thank you very much. Peace be with you. And I've been present.
Thank you, Dean.
Anybody, any questions, please? This is a beautiful journey, and this nano coating process and these ganses. We never stop. We're never ending. We can always go, God knows, a million directions.
And there's always new people discovering it, and some people that have been around a while that are just rediscovering it as well. So it's interesting. Yes.
Carolina, it's Peggy.
Yes.
I just have a refresher reminder needed. When I have my older GANs, I'm remembering, I believe, that I can take a blender, like my handheld stick blender, and give them a quick whirl, and that will re-energize them. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, darling. What you can do is you take your ganses. If you want to know exactly if your ganses are still okay, you just make what we call a paint pad. Yeah, a paint patch, which means you take a zip bag, you put tissue paper in it, or from a toilet roll, or a piece of cloth, a very thin cotton, as clean as possible, and you just put it in, and you add plasma water with a little bit of your GANs with it. Not much, very little. Let's say you want to test your just your CO2 water. So you shake your bottle and you pour a little bit of your CO2 with some CO2 GANs with it. And then you put it in the zip bag. You push the air out. Don't use too much. It's just a tester, yeah? It can even be a very small bag. Then you close the zip. When your, what we call the paint pad, feels cool, you know your GANs water is perfectly okay. Perfectly okay. If, let's say, you have paint pads or GANs waters which are not optimal anymore, which means they stay on the room temperature. They're not nicely cool, or they have lost their field strength and they are at room temperature. Just put them between 2 bottles of GANS water and they recharge. You don't even need to open them up. You don't need to pour new GANS in. They just recharge.
So from previously charged CO2 water, I can take, if I do the test and I find that the patch is at 80 degrees, for example, my home will stay at 80 because it's 100 about now coming outside. So let's say that I'm at 80 degrees Fahrenheit in my house, and the patch that I'm doing my test on does not cool down as it previously had. Then what I can do is, from my CO2 plasma waters that I've created previously, I can recharge the GANs of CO2 by setting 2 bottles of water next to it, correct?
2 bottles of your GANS water bottles, yeah? Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. I wanted to be clear on that.
And even when you have a paint pads which are warm, you just place them between your GANS bottles. They charge, they just recharge, they go cool again. And if it really doesn't work, just take a small injection needle and just inject a little bit of fresh CO2 GANS water and seal it, and you have a fresh pad.
May I ask you, because I am currently in a desert climate, so it's not uncommon when we hit summertime for us to actually be negative in our humidity in this area. So when that happens, of course, even things that are in Ziplocs will dehydrate very quickly and dry out. Do the fields remain still coming from the patches once they're dry, or should I just add a little bit more or just change them out? Because they'll dry up probably within half a day, depending on the humidity, how low it goes.
I would suggest just to put them in a double zip bag and put an extra clot of GANS water around it. Go
Gotcha.
for double
just
zip bagging.
Keep them wet.
Yeah, keep them wet. Keep them even in the fridge if you need to. If you don't want to lose your moist and you want to keep your paint pads good, because once they touch the body, they will be cool, but they will keep their coolness and you will not be fooled because of the fridge, because they can't, at such a high temperatures, they can't stay that kind of cool. But if they stay nice and cool, even if they're half an hour out of the fridge, they're okay. But if you want prevention that they dry out, just put them in a cooler. Or even in a cool box with a block of ice and just close the lid. They will keep, they won't dehydrate. They won't lose their moisture.
That is beautiful and absolutely perfect. As you were saying that, I was envisioning those small soft-sided coolers that people take their lunches in, and that those would be nice, because again, the call that had gone out by Mr. Keshe for making a lot of GANs and starting to stockpile and being prepared. And I thought, boy, it'll be awfully nice to have a stack of these ready. If somebody even, heaven forbid, tripped and skinned their knee, or, something, just having things handy instead of having to actually make them in that moment, because, being prepared means being prepared, not getting prepared when you need it. So just little things like that I've been thinking. And I was also wondering if we are going to do any wishes today, because I have one that I think I'd like to bring forth to the group, if possible today, if there's time.
Of course we have time. We always have time for wishes.
Would you like it now or later?
Oh, you can start. Why not?
Okay, so once upon a time, I had a wish. And at that time, I gave it a name only because it was just a concept and a wish that had not manifest yet in the matter state. And I called it the Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center. And you gave me the opportunity to do a little presentation, and I believe it was the 13th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace meeting. Anyway, that has now been made manifest over and over again. But the one that is shining so brightly that globally it can be seen is Ursula, our dear Ursula. And she has the Oasis Provence now. And I believe that's in the south of France. And so the Keshe Foundation Preserve and Visitor Center, as came to me and I put forth as a wish, this project is now available to all the knowledge seekers and people who want to learn. And it's a beautiful thing. So this has now led me to a new wish that I've been wondering why those small motorhomes have been coming to me for over a year. They're just in my thoughts. And now I understand more. I would like to make a wish that the development of mobile Keshe Foundation centers be developed. So people whom have the desire and ability and knowledge from Mr. Keshe can go out in these small motorhomes and they can go to the campgrounds. There's so many people all over the globe that are living in situations what we've known as, in the US at least, as the working poor, where they're having to rent or purchase these little RVs even for living, because even though they're working, they can't afford housing for their families right now. So there's places where these Keshe Foundation mobile centers could be stopping at and just discussing with the people, what do they find in that area is a common need, and here's some solutions. Again, this is my wishes for the development and manifestation of Keshe mobile centers. Thank you.
That is a very nice idea. I remember that we had quite a few knowledge seekers in the States, especially with Standing Rock, which were traveling in vans, taking the knowledge and taking material to the Indians, which then stood up for their rights. So it has, just a second. So it has taken a start off, but not many people have copied it. So maybe your wish will come to reality, because it is a wish. When we wish, we create. So thank you for creating this wish. And yeah, a lot of people which have campers or know about people which have campers, they can change them into half living. And I am 100% sure that the bedroom will be turned into a lab or the kitchen. Thank you for your wish.
Thank you. And I've also thought about houseboats. Why not? There's so many people that live at sea. Think of the houseboats as well.
Yep. You can
become creative.
Yep. Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to ask or share knowledge from the last teaching of Mr. Keshe? Because I want It's been very quiet since last Thursday, I noticed, everywhere. It's like the knowledge seekers have gone in a dormant state. And I don't want knowledge seekers to go in a dormant state. So I started poking yesterday in a way of a nice poking that people can talk. We are transparent with our knowledge. We have to also be able to be transparent with our emotions and our feelings. But people should also know that we are, as a family, that we can rely on one another if the possibilities are there, and if it's not in one direction, it can go into another direction. Has anybody any questions or sharing, please? Nobody?
We have Dan with his hand up here.
Yes, Dan. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Caroline, and everybody else. It's yesterday in the meeting of testimonials. No, when I translate from Adrian about one kind of dispositive, I receive one message from one of my colleagues saying it's better leave a certain person talking and sending these medical therapeutes and other guys, which mean, for learning about cash plasma technology, sending from the member of a council, and is not your decide how to say. Yes, for making. And my question is how to spread, how to interact with all the knowledge, because I talk a lot with various groups in various many language, and I asking also Arik how to spread this knowledge from everybody, not with force, with love, and everybody taking what is need.
What is your question exactly?
When the other people are saying, "Oh, it's not better in this way, it's not better in that way," making this, making that, it's from taking what is needed, what you achieve from your understanding regarding it's better listen to advice or from the others, but it's your point of decisions. It's yours regarding your soul, I think. And my asking how not interpret, how to moving this magnet in the table for position.
You are the magnet. You decide. You have doubts about your own field strength. Have no doubts. You go to the direction of what you are constant in a creating motion. Because I tried to explain to somebody when they were talking, and not in a pleasant way, I said, please stop, because you manifest with as long as it's in your head, yeah, it's there. But when you start speaking, it takes the matter state. So it starts realizing somewhere, somehow. So you keep something in position, or by your words, you change the position. You got to understand you are a creator. Whatever is around you is what you have created or been part of it. So never doubt yourself. And that's why my advice was double check if what you want to teach or share, and you trust the source, and you do it with a good heart, you can go no wrong.
I understand very, very well. Sorry for interruption.
No, you can trust yourself. If you have no way of harming in your way of your direction, and it's there to support and to help, just make sure that you double check your source before you share it with somebody else, or you test it before. But if it feels good, it means it is good. So never hesitate. Never anyone tell you this or that. Go by your heart, go by your feeling, and especially with what is your intention. We see a lot of struggling among different languages because there are still people thinking that they can take charge of other people. And that is so wrong. It cannot. When you're a teacher in a classroom, you have to give everyone the opportunity to speak. As long as it is about what we are there for together, to learn and to share knowledge, it is okay. But it is not there to dictate anybody, and it's definitely not there to insult nobody. So never let nobody to deprive you from who you are.
I understand, Signora Carolina. Yes, Signora Carolina, perfectly. Always I listen my heart. It's nice to listen to the others, to opinion of the others, the processing, yes, not judging. It's like making decision from your point of view, like line of zero, no, of point of reference. It's my soul. It's no hard from nobody. Also, sometimes somebody else is saying, "Oh, you are involved too much." For me, it's a pleasure translate. For me, it's a pleasure participate and listen to everybody and every thoughts, works and work, because it's like a family.
Feel comfortable with who you are, and how can you not be involved enough in helping and studying and teaching and sharing? I just opened this teaching with, we are short of hands and time. We do not know, we hardly rest. We simply are short of time. It is amazing. And then people tell you not to be involved enough. It's a very strange world. Enjoy the journey and enjoy the pleasure. And I know you're in a lot of places, and you're doing a great job. So don't let nobody talk you down on anything. Trust yourself.
Okay, about from knowledge seeker, from what Mr. Keshe saying last session, I asked him yesterday, Rick, how to making, because it's about how to create. It's like two experiments. I'm in create CO2 in one box and putting salt water in the other jar, close, and with my intention, with my field, interact with my field, create in the other box also CO2, or it's needed, I have one jar in the left with a little bit CO2 or the other guns inside, and trying to rematerialize, yes, to post this, to moving from one jar to the others. It's not very clear, because perhaps it's better listen to again the words of Mr. Keshe for answering in my soul, in myself. sometimes it's hard to understand me because I have a lot in.
I understand you very well. I understand you very well. But yes, I would advise you to go and listen again to where Mr. Keshe is explaining it. You will find your answers. If that is your wish, that what you want to learn is there, you will learn, don't worry. And don't give up. It took me a long time to get through certain understandings of the work of Mr. Keshe. It's a progress. We're all evolving and it's all new. It's never been done before, as Rick said so many times. He says we have to give people time. Isn't it, Rick?
That's true, and it's a dynamic teaching. It's something that was taught 4 or 10 years ago, may or may not be appropriate. A lot of things, I was thinking about that earlier today, actually, that a lot of things that Mr. Keshe teaches, he has taught 10 years ago or 5 years ago or a few years ago. Very, very much the same exact thing. He's, about certain processes, the way the universe works, and all of that. But on the other hand, there's been little details along the way that have been changed. For example, people have introduced the idea of the fire coding, and that seemed okay for a while, but then it is okay for certain things in certain ways, but not for most of the other ways. And so we have to clarify and start to cut the fine details. And then some people teach one way and some people teach another. And then we start to hear, well, Mr. Keshe said, and then we try to nail down a certain time he said something, but then he might have new information and goes ahead and presents the new way of doing things, and the older way may be either obsolete or not as effective, not as efficient, or maybe in certain hands is more dangerous or whatever. So it's a kind of a bit of a moving target, but at the same time, we go with the latest information as much as possible, and that's why it's great to have these interactions, and it's a live. The way I look at it, it's a live teaching. It's not something that you can just read all about it in a book or in a leaflet or in a website or whatever, and think that you know all of the latest and that's the end of it, because it's evolving. It's always changing. That's the nature of the way life is. Life isn't just stagnant. It's always changing. The situation's always changing, and just when we think we know it all, we're faced with a new situation that, whoops, I guess I don't know it all after all. In fact, look at this whole new world that just opened up. In the case of many people, look at the testimonial that we had yesterday at the testimonials meeting from Bente, who was talking about her education. She's had all these courses in physics and chemistry and biology, and both in her she's in her I think her late 70s in age and physical age. And she talks about her education in her early part of her life in these things, and high grade education, supposedly with sciences and so on. And she's re-educated herself recently because she's had more questions than one of those answered. And she didn't get the answers she wanted through the regular science until she encountered the Keshe teachings in the last year or two, where she's getting the answers to the questions that she's always had about the way life works and the way the different processes work in the universe and so on. And she just wasn't getting the answers in the regular sciences. So this was, it's a pretty big deal getting into all these concepts, and they are they can be very profound in on many levels. And so people get sort of overwhelmed sometimes, and sometimes, again, we think we know it all, or on the other hand, some of us think we know nothing, but we all know something, and we all don't know it all. So I think we're there's lots of room for learning more, and that's part of the wonder of this process that we have of interacting with each other through this basis of the Keshe Foundation teachings on in all of their different aspects.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody else wants to share or ask questions? Is there anybody from the council who would like to bring something forward?
Is very also I am done. It's also so beautiful when in 23rd knowledge seekers, Mr. Keshe, it's present the road, the way from the matter to nano to field to gas field, and what its purpose is for elevate the soul, the proper soul, and in totality, it's for achieve its beautiful journey, because always saying go back, and always it's something with when I passing quickly and I don't also observe, but when I go back, I realize it's always like a first lesson for last. It's always Mr. Keshe present all the data, all the information, all the knowledge. It depends how it's the man. It's not rise. It's maturization. Achieve the maturity. Sorry, Maris.
Well, that's a good point, Dan. That's why it's sometimes good to go back and rehear some of the things that were said with new ears, you could say. And we hear it on a different level if our level of understanding has changed during that time.
Perhaps it's I am lucky. I don't know the purpose, but when I listen in 2 or 3 or 4 language, or many times same information, I observe a little bit piece what is passing, and no, it's not important. It's important. Every word, every single word, is important for understanding better.
Mm-hmm. That's why the act of transcribing is so wonderful as well for people personally, as well as being a service for everyone. That you can go through an actual transformation by re-listening to the words. Sometimes if you're transcribing, you might have to listen to the same phrase a dozen times or more in a row. And to get the one word, was he saying that word or was he saying that word? Well, I have to re-listen. And after a while, you gain a different understanding, because you start to actually understand what's being said. And that can occur on different levels according to the state that we're in at the time. And sometimes just rehearing the same idea more than a couple of times, 3 or 4 times, say, is enough to reinforce it. That's why advertising works so well, they keep saying the company name over and over and over during a short period of time, and that reinforces it, and we involuntarily learn it. But if we use that same idea and work it with the concepts that Mr. Keshe brings up, then it helps to get a handle on it, to actually get a grip on what are these things that he's talking about, because he often talks on different levels at the same time. So according to what level our ears are tuned to at that particular time will be what we hear. And we don't always hear the full message if we're not tuned to the totality, let's say. And how often are we totally tuned to the totality without our own preconditioning and other filters that are normally in place, so we only hear part of the message rather than the whole message.
Rick?
Yes.
Thank you. I see Dr. Klaus is present. Dr. Klaus, I have sent you a copy of what we were discussing previous about the first aid paper which you have assembled. Can you please double check if it is the correct one? I just received it from Pete. And if you could give comment, because we showed the other one and then the whole discussion started about something. So it cleared up a lot of things. Thank you for looking into it, Dr. Klaus, if you can come back. I think that with your confirmation, we can show it public again. And also that most probably you have left the part with the fire coating, that small part in it, because it is an emergency sheet to guide people, if that is correct, Dr. Klaus. Can you confirm?
I just have a look at it. Which version it is, there must be a date on it. Yes, but there's always something to improve if I have a look at it. For instance, we have here on the top right copper wire twist together. And if available, use LED. Yes, for emergency, just twist, but I would always use an LED between, or at least a stick of wood if we don't have. So I would correct this now from the point of knowledge now. Genswater. Even if we have here writing 3 till 10 grams of salt, if you really need an urgent reaction, you even can take more of it. So there is always so much to improve. Caustic bath, growing nanolayers. I would leave nanocoat copper. I think it's written here. If no copper, there's even here, if no copper available, burn fruits, herbs, ashes, nanomaterial, mix in water, then it's energized. This is, I think, still information from the Philippines, but this is really for emergency situations. So maybe we could remove the nanocoating copper by fire with a torch and leave the nanocoat copper by fire if caustic is not available. I think this is a good idea. So I would have at least 3, 4, 5 improvements before it goes out, because we are always learning and improving. Rest, cuts, skin infections, this is direct information from Mr. Keshe. From the teachings, internal injuries, this comes directly from him. There's nothing to improve. Systems to use Genswater, of course. Calcium, we said, yeah, chicken bone. It's not the bone marrow. Yeah, okay. It's already the corrected version. Basically, yes, I would remove the nano coating by copper with torch, and twisting wires together, I would replace with LED or a piece of wood.
What's wrong with the twisting of wires together? That was the original technique that was recommended by Mr. Keshe when we first began. As long as they're nano-coated wires, not bare copper wires.
Limited the current.
Yeah.
Producing guns.
And that's it. We don't have here nano-coated wires.
Okay, I see.
I send the link from explanation complete from CO2 and CH3, where Mr. Keshe explained why and how. What is the difference when you have the LED, when don't have the LED, when you're passing from DC to AC, and what's happening in kit of CO2 and CH3?
Okay, can you summarize whether twisted wire or LED would be appropriate on the plasmatic first aid for kind of emergency type use, or at least in the field use when you use what's available?
They have to be connected. If there is no connection, you don't kickstart so easy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know where to go.
So is bare copper wire okay in that case, or would you wait?
I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna have a look to help you visually. If I have one, I think so. Just 1 second, Rick. I'm gonna go through my library. A very small, not nano-coated, LED light, they have to be connected. Just 1 second. I got too many pictures. But I remember because I send them to Mr. Keshe and then he gives me more information. You should do this, you should do that. I got one.
We can hear you walking through your library.
As usual. I hope I have taken, you see, voila. You see the connection with the LED? So we make sure that the other side of the box is not connected. This is very simple. So you don't need to work complicated. And if you don't have an LED, just take a nano-coated wire and just connect them. Make an extension on your wire and just to make sure they touch each other.
So if these wires are already nano-coated, which they kind of look like they are, then could you just twist them together? That was the way it was explained. And if it was put that way in the plasmatic first aid, maybe it would be okay.
I'm gonna see if I can find you the ones which are different. I think I better go to my very, very, very first ones. Just 1 second, Rick. I'm taking you on a walk. I got them from last year. And Dr. Klaas helped me to set them up. And I got beautiful, very close, nice pictures, but I need to go backwards to find them. So please bear with me. But just to give you an idea how each setting is done, because I got all of them, if I remember correctly. And they are in a glass jar, but the best pots to make them, although they were perfect in the glass as well, is sorry to name the name, but I get the boxes from IKEA and they are that plastic is just perfect, especially for nanocoating as well. We used to ship the CO2 kits in those boxes, the very, very first ones. Oh God, where did I put it again?
Because it's different type of plastic, no? When you have a propylene, PPR, it's one. When you have the PET, it's the other things. When you have this plastic alimentar, when you achieve nano coating, when you nano coating inside, it's one thing. When you have the other, when you working with the plastic, you achieve also matter and nano bond of carbon and hydrogen.
You see, I shared, yes, I shared a picture. This was my CH3, which in this case had a plasma battery. And this is my zinc. And even Mr. Keshe said, do not use those clippers. They're not good. Just take a wire and just connect them, he said. So I'm learning too. That was from last year. Now I just make a connection with the wire, not with these clippers. And then
the alligator clips, sometimes they're called, yes. And they're, just to let people know, they're usually chrome plated, and chromium will come off very easily into the salt or caustic type solutions. And it's not good. It's usually a yellowish residue or stain, and it's it would be considered toxic as well. So best to keep away.
Not only that, you destroy them very fast. They get destroyed very fast through the process when the salt starts building up.
Exactly, and then when they start falling apart, and then the particles are falling into the solution and so on.
The CO2,
and it can also hurt the nano coating when they crush the nano coating. So, like you say, it's better usually with just a wire wrapped around.
Yeah, and this one, you see the CO2. I have to tell you, because this is made from the Himalayan sea salt, so that's why it's red. And Mr. Keshe told me to take those clippers off and just, pardon, with a little nano-coated wire, just go from the one to the other and just put, this is a nano-coated copper piece. Instead of using the clippers, just use a loose, flexible nano-coated wire and just connect them. He says that's perfectly okay. And if every time, pardon, if you don't use the batteries, use LED lights. And then you have the CEO, which again, I used a battery. And you see the wires, that is actually already sufficient enough if you just make the connection or you put an LED in between. And this was my CH3 before I started. This, how do you call it? Galvanized zinc is the best one. So far, in this shape and in this form, we just wind it like a maggraph system. They produce beautiful CH3 and beautiful, absolutely amazing and very fast. This time I used a different one, and I really been suffering to get my CH3 going. But now I found the same wire again, and it's been rolled on a drill, and I just use it as this. It works perfect.
Caroline, may I take you back to the galvanizing the wire is iron, which has a copper and a zinc coating. That's your galvanized wire.
Yeah.
Because in one moment you mentioned it shouldn't have any iron inside. Yeah, it shouldn't have any special steel. Should be what we call normally sweet iron or low carbon iron.
Yes, and that's why we use that way for people not to throw nails in it.
Yeah, well,
No, you don't know what is
yeah.
right. So this was my zinc kit. And instead of the clippers, you see there is a small, I do not know the name of it. Can you identify this, Rick? Do you see if I enlarge the picture?
That's a resistor.
Voila, there you go. I am
high value resistor.
I know a lot about how to fix electricity, but half of the time I'm half cooked because I don't know the words of it. I know for what to use it, but my alphabet in electronics is very low because I never seen it. But I know where to get an electric shock, and that's enough for me. So there goes my sharing.
Alina,
Yes.
it's Peggy. I just wanted to mention my dad used to say that about me, and this is a good example, what you were just saying. I know enough to be dangerous. It's you know what you know, but you don't have the proper words to explain what you know and how you know so that others can understand. So yes, beautiful. Thank you for the detail. And thank you, Rick, for reminding us about the ends of the alligator clips. Very important about the chromium. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, everybody. It's Mernaz.
Hi, Mernaz.
Oh, okay. Thank you. In fact, I was going to do a series of new ganses, and I asked Sander. So I can find them in the new versions or in Madame Keshe has said. It's on the Wikipedia, right? The 8 videos on how to make ganses. Is it on the Wikipedia, the recent version to make ganses?
Have you posted the link out, or is Klaus going to work on the update of it?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking Flint. Because I missed the part of it because I was kicked out of the class. And,
I'm thinking it's not going to go on Wikipedia until at least the fire coating, the fire nano coating was removed, was my understanding. But Rick, what was your understanding?
Yeah, is that something different you're talking about, Mernaz, about videos about the GANs making, which is there are already different pages in the Wikipedia about how to make the different GANSes and so on.
Okay.
Right.
Another question I had was, like the very first time, 2-3 years ago, the first time I made ganses, at the time we were talking about the herbs and all that. And I put about 28 herbs and good things in my caustic. That was...
Sorry, let me stop you just for a second, Ernest. I just lost part of the audio there well, it switched accidentally on my live stream. So could you say your last sentence or two again, please?
Yes, I did my first series, I think, 2016 or something, or later. And I put the herbs, like 27 herbs and good things inside the caustic. And it happens that it's my best CO2 I've ever done it's still here, very fluffy, nice, and all that. And now I want to make a series for first aid, and maybe make video about that. I wanted to see if I can put my herbs, medicinal herbs, and like ginger and all that with it, herbs, rose flower, and in a muslin tissue, very soft, which they use for tea bags. And I make it larger, and I put it on the mesh. When I put my my copper plates, I put this bag with all my herbs and medicinal stuff over the mesh, and under it's caustic, which covers it. Is it a good way? And then I take that, I clean it, I put CO2 over it. Is it a good idea for the gans of these herbs?
Don't know what kind of mesh you're talking about. Is it a mesh that
The
gets
mesh
dissolved?
metallic, the chicken wire in my box, plastic box. I put a mesh, and then I first put I put my caustic powder. I put my plate, copper plate over that, right? And I put boiling water, and I can put this bag of herbs over the wire mesh, and then I can clean it and it's stuff like that, and then put CO2 and keep it to use it as a medicinal complex to have around. Is it a good way to make it? It's like a gans of these plants. Because it would have caustic soda over it. So it would be nano-coated. Then I can wash it, add CO2 over, and keep it like that.
I'm not clear. No, I don't know myself, but maybe someone can answer.
Like, how do we make the gans of the herbs, medicinal herbs? How do you make for fruit? You mix it, you put no.
Usually people, I believe, like for example, you can mix the caustic with your chopped up fruit or vegetables, and allow that, put the caustic in with hot water and so on, and in a baggie, some sort of container that allows it, or a glass container that allows it to basically dissolve in the caustic over a period of days or weeks. And then you can filter out the dissolved substance from the caustic, and then reduce it down with distilled water and so on, so you get a material that you can put into your CO2 box while you're making the CO2 gans, or you can use it inside of a tube, like in a test tube or some other container that's sealed, that you can then put inside of a water container or beside a water container or whatever for the field interaction. It's one way. Maybe some others have other suggestions.
If I may, depending on the use, if it's for health issues and it's for consuming the plasma water with the energy of whatever you are trying to put in there, I would not advise to use caustic. but I can give you some alternatives, and please, if I'm wrong, please intervene and correct. So one method would be when you are producing the CO2 gas, on the top of the reactor, between the two plates or coils, right? You can put a banana or apple or whatever fruit you want. But after the reactor has started to produce, when you see a bit of amino acid in there, is the proper moment to introduce your fruit or whatever you want. Another method, number two, is, for example, if you want to have pills, for example, for magnesium or calcium, you can have a support like paper tissue or a coffee filter, and try to put your powder of whatever you are putting in there, the vitamin, again between the two plates, while touching the surface of the water uh, in this CO2 reactor, again after it uh, has started to produce, and you see a bit of amino acid in there. So both ways involve a CO2 gas reactor while it produces. While it produces the gas. The third method, which I find the easiest, but I'm not sure about the power of the fields that contain your information, is to already have the CO2 plasma water and a little bit of CO2 gas, and mix it with your vitamin powder or bit calcium, bit magnesium, or bit, let's say, a bit of your fruit or whatever you want to put in there, and leave it for maybe 24 hours, maybe more or less, I'm not sure, but you can keep that in a jar and use it to influence some water and to make it plasma water with the information of what you want to have there, and you can consume it. Maybe you can even feel the taste of it. I have done that with teas, a lot of herbs as well. If I'm wrong, please intervene and correct me, or if somebody else has proven these methods to be correct.
Oh, I have done 2-3 methods for fruit. Another thing was when I want to add potassium to my caustic, to my gases, I found CLK, chlorure potassium. Is it okay to add to my caustic and AOH?
For what purpose are you talking about? Medical purposes?
I don't know, because I heard it's better to put some KOH with NaOH, and when you start to make gas with your.
When you make GANs, KOH? To
No,
make GANs.
just with your caustic, it's better to. I heard that it's.
But you're not using caustic to make GANs, right? Marinus, you're not using caustic to make GANs, correct?
Yes, I want to make GANs of CO2 or whatever.
But you're not using caustic to make the actual GANs, correct? You're using salt water, not caustic?
For nanocoating, in fact.
For nanocoating, yes. So let's be clear about that. So this will come out in text and people will read it, and we have to make sure everything's clear. That's why we shouldn't really be just discussing this and using our opinions and I've tried this and this and that. We should be referring people to the KF Wikipedia, which is the latest state of the art as far as giving advice about this kind of thing. So maybe we should refer to the web pages or refer to the actual site, because there's Mr. Keshe has often said there's as many types of reactors as there are stars in the universe, and there's as many processes for making GANs as there are stars in the universe too, I think.
I heard it in a teaching, Farsi teaching by Hassan. I heard he said it's better to put KOH. Maybe he wanted it for agriculture, or that's why I thought I'd try.
It might be some confusion in there between the OH and chloride, because if you have the OH, it's a hydroxide. If you have the chloride, it's a salt. So if you have COH, it's a potassium hydroxide, which is very good when you mix it with the caustic, when you create the nano-coating materials, but don't in a CO2 reactor or whatever reactor. If you want to use the chloride, which is magnesium chloride, potassium chloride, and so on, that's a salt. And you can create a mix of salts when you create your GANs, and you have a lot more information in your GANs. But please avoid confusion and see which is which and which is used for what purpose.
Yes, very good clarification there, for sure.
Because I couldn't find KOH nowhere on the internet.
Well, you don't have to use KOH. It's part of the more advanced process, you might say, mixing the KOH with the caustic. And it does depend on exactly what end result you want to get, what you're using the GANs for, and so on. Again, you can refer back to the Wikipedia would probably be best for the actual processes.
Perfect, perfect. Well, by the way, I had testimonial about myself. I just thought about it. Like, I feel I'm more intelligent than before, because before I didn't like to go to chemistry and physics and understand. Now it's easy for me to go to internet and look for it. So that's my testimonial for saying that this knowledge makes this brain work better. No,
Elevate the sword.
You think it's my soul? I don't know, but I amaze myself how I'm interested in difficult stuff before, like chemistry and isotope. Now I have more. I mean, I don't have difficulty. So it's a good thing. I encourage all knowledge seekers to go farther.
Now you can teach the professors, perhaps, eh, Marnus?
But I still have some problem with internet, because the subject I had made a video. It's still in the box. I'm sure nobody has received it because I don't see it on playlist. So I still have some progress to do in manipulation of computer. Because I did a video about teaching, and I have 6 or 7 prepared. It just has been received by nobody. Yeah, because
the videos that you sent, are you talking about the videos you sent?
No, I sent last month a video which has finished, and others I said I sent later. Nobody has received it.
No, we received them, but Mr. Keshe didn't want to show those publicly.
No, not that one. The video of 1 hour, easy plasma teaching. I did it 1 month ago, 1 month ago, and I still don't know where it is. I sent it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, you'll have to sort that out, I guess.
It is better anyway. Thank you very much. And I love it when you say we should be precise, because this way we are careful about the dosage, the way we do it. Just one more question. When I put when I want to put the 2 of wires together, one nano-coated and one non-nano-coated. So if I don't find lead, I can put another wire, normal wire between the two, right? Instead of twisting them together, I can
No,
add.
it should be a nano-coated wire was the idea.
Okay,
it have resistance between them, not just a bare connection.
Okay, and another nano-coated is between the two.
Yes,
Okay.
unless you have two nano-coated wires in which you could twist them together, carefully twist them together so you don't break the coating was the original way of doing it.
Plus another normal, non-nano-coated attached to the other plate. Because I put nano-coated wire to the nano-coated plate. I put non-nano-coated wire to the non-nano-coated plate.
No, you should put a nano-coated wire to the non-nano-coated plate as well.
Oh, okay. So it would be 2 pieces of wire or 3 pieces?
Well, if they were both nano-coated, you could just twist them together technically, or you could put another nano-coated wire between them to act as an LED.
Right. So all of them should be nano-coated wire.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Perfect. Well, I think even though I don't know exact process, which I try to know, of course, it's better, but the intention and excitement and love we put in it makes it more healing. I'm absolutely sure of it.
Right on. Thank you, Marinaz.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Menas, and thank you, Rick. We see these sessions now and then reoccurring that we are tumbled in for nearly a whole session about recapping knowledge of know-how, and it is beautiful because it corrects a lot of things or misconceptions or misunderstandings, and it's like they're getting rectified again over and over again, and it's a pleasure because for the ones which are used to and have a better understanding or more experience of doing it and teaching it and repeating it, it's an easier path to walk. If you are informed correctly, you will see, you will become like us, and you just walk through it and you remember all the details and all the mistakes you ever made or how you should or be able to improve it. Does anybody have any more questions, please? And
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just that we have an extra guest today, so bombard your questions because he's not going to be here for a very long time. Do you, Mr. Keshe? And don't tell me you're going to be silent.
I have the question, Signora Caroline. If he answer, it's better. If he not answer, I making also in same way. When you say moving the gas from the jar to the others, I make 2 choice. Making kit of CO2 in same time in left side, and in the right side it's only salt water. And I see if I am product CO2 also, but from 2 meter or 1 meter distance between, or I'm putting some gram of gas in salt water, and the other I try to moving from one to the others. Is 2 experiments difference. This is all. Thank you.
Oh, you must have missed one of, it's a long time ago, if even Rick remembers, that we suggested for people that when you put your feet in salt water, you should be able to produce GANs, or through your hands. But we never got a feedback on that one. You literally become the creator of GANs with your own body.
This discussion it's in I don't know 14 with Mr. Shandor and Mr. Kesh. When I say if you stay alone in the pool with salt water, I'm making my own guns.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah, this came up quite a few long teachings ago, that if you can sit long enough still with your feet in a bucket of salt water, you can become the producer of GANs. Try it, we'll see. It's nice to get a feedback on it if people want to try it, or keep your hands in the GANs in the salt water.
I have the third lesson, for third step.
Yes.
One I'm moving with intention with not my hands, feel of my hands or my body. Coil, in usual coil, copper. Second, copper nano, and now it's passing from next step, moving to the GANs, and I want to try.
Let us know. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Any questions or sharing?
Yes, hi Carolina.
Hi Pete.
UC member for the Polish language. I know we have to introduce ourselves. So I just wanted to bring some light to some worrying developments that have been recently going on in Poland, and bring a wish forward for these things to stop, because it is very worrying how the government treats people and sort of reduces their freedom of choice, even in regards to sort of natural products. So what it is, I'll just give a brief introduction, because I'm sure you know many of us don't know what is going on in there. So the Polish sanitary services, on behalf of the government, they started closing many companies that produce natural herbal extracts and supplements which are based on plants. So they are also introducing new law. They are adjusting the list of forbidden products, such as, for example, extract from spinach, or extract from beetroot or from some other plant, not necessarily herbs, even plants that people eat every day. And they refer, as an explanation for it, they refer to a decree of the King of Belgium. I found it quite ironic, that, Poland is using a decree from Belgium, because I never thought Poland was a state of Belgium, so there's something weird going on in there. This might be because, they couldn't find a legal explanation anywhere. So they found something that matches their actions. They found something that justifies their actions. And it's a decree of the King of Belgium that forbids the use of certain natural or herbal extracts, So last sort of week or two, they were closing even big companies that have been on the market for 20, 30, 40 years, selling basically just natural products, natural herbal products, extracts, and so on, teas and ointments and other things. And it escalated a lot, and a lot of businesses were shut down. And now they are changing the legislation, so you wouldn't even be able to buy these things. So I see that this is a shift towards forcing people to use what the big pharma is serving us, and not giving them any other options, because earlier on, about 1 or 2 months ago, they closed a homeopathic remedies manufacturing there is the constant problem with, with vaccines. All the doctors who do not give a permission or say that there are some circumstances based on which a child or an adult or whoever cannot be vaccinated, these doctors lose their licenses right away, even if there are legal, valid reasons for not vaccinating, such as already suffering from some conditions. So I see this shift of the government forcing and closing and, even now forbidding natural extracts, herbs, which I just cannot believe. And I would like for this to stop and for people to have freedom to use whatever they like to use when it comes to their health, when it comes, to choosing a method of helping themselves with whatever they have, whatever, is their problem. So I'd like to wish for, for these things to stop for those who are manipulating, not only in Poland, all around the world, because we know that this is a problem in many countries, but it just recently escalated in Poland, and I just couldn't walk by it without, noticing or raising an alarm here, because it does worry me a lot, and I wish for these things to stop, so people are free to buy whatever they want, to use whatever they want. In the same way, guns products can be forbidden because we say it's natural. So I wouldn't like to see this happening. I wish that all these actions and things that are not even fully legally justified, that they stop, because it's just reducing the freedom of the citizens in Poland to decide about their own health. We have to be vaccinated. We cannot use homeopathic remedies. We wouldn't be even able to buy, any herbal teas or extracts, because the list of those that are forbidden is increasing dramatically. Thank you.
Pete, can you repeat that? What's about the Belgium?
Belgium was, it's just an excuse, because when people challenged the authorities, why are they shutting these factories, these businesses, they referred to a decree of the King of Belgium, who in this decree, he forbid the use of some, herbal extracts or some natural remedies.
Which king? Which king?
I don't know exactly the details. I will dig it out. I'll find it and I can let you know.
Dig it out. It'll be very interesting historically. Because as you know, we are taking the King of Belgium, the Kingdom of Belgium, to European Court of Justice, and the process has started. And if you notice, we release pictures where the King of Belgium and the Queen of Belgium sitting and having coffee with me in a cafe. The pretense of the king was, this cafe is one of the highest high profile herbal medicine cafe in Belgium. And the pretend was the king came to see, if you look at the picture, one of the pictures was actually marbling on the extract of the herbs that they produce. If I can find a picture, you see it, that this is how pretends are. And in a way, it's a revenge on how this place was, used the picture. We use the picture for our case. It's a very, very interesting to hear this, because the king was on the pretensions of how they produce herbs and herbal medicine in this cafe. Just give me a second. This is very, just 1 second.
He was purchasing the herbs.
He was
himself.
purchasing herbs, yeah.
You sent me the pictures at one point, Mr. Keshe. It was around the 13th of
just wait 1 second. I have to do something.
I'm trying to find them as well.
I've got it. You just gotta wait because I have to do some cleaning up with it. These pictures are part of our evidence to the European Court of Justice, and very interesting. You can submit this. How can this be when the king himself is supposedly to be user of herbal medicine, or he's very anxious to show he is in it? And that's what it was planned for when I was told actually to leave the country. If you look, on the left-hand side of this picture, in the cupboards are the highest, most powerful herbs, medicine in the world. This gentleman with his hand behind his back, he is dead now, but behind him, literally right behind him on his back, is one of the biggest herbal fields, farms in the world. And the king supposedly came to see him for his herbal medicine. And banning it is very, very strange thing to hear. How they've done this is a very interesting for us to take this much further legally. And I'll get our legal team to look into this very, very profoundly, because it's very, very interesting for us how in Belgium now, even if you produce nano-coated wires, it's criminal offense. This is how they've done it, trying to control. I'll give you a picture here because we have the other picture behind it. This is these are very historical pictures. You would not see it because this is a part of private, what do you call it, documents. This picture tells a different story. You can see him, he's got his head, and the head, the brown head in between, is the Queen of Belgium. And you can see the herbs, array of herbs.
They're consulting to buy, that's where they were purchasing.
This was supposedly to be purchased, and they came to see me to make the threat. How come he makes such order when he's a user? Use this in conjunction with the Polish government, you will understand. We strangely yesterday have come across another murder attempt using the same things which the king has used, or the king of Belgium has used, to kill witnesses and scientists. And they come on the cover of the Keshe Foundation, knowledge seekers. It's very amazing. I got information yesterday that another knowledge seeker was poisoned the same as me and Caroline by pretended knowledge seekers. Very, very strange. We're putting the case now through to the European Court of Justice. Because these people are interested in herbs, in how to kill, not how to cure. And the reason they put a condition on it, because they use it themselves, they are scared to their bones somebody use it on them. That's the reason. Very, very interesting what you brought up, and I'll make a note to the legal team to look into it.
Mr. Keshe, sorry to interrupt. It all matches, because what you said, it makes perfect sense, because one of the products, for example, that they want to delegalize is extract from apricot kernel. and they are saying, you know, in large dosages or some aspects of it can be toxic, very toxic.
There are, you see, this is how, as a human race, we are where we are. Our ancestors used these, and they assured, they guaranteed that from supposedly one woman and one man, we become 7 billion at the moment. And if this has been wrong, how come they were used by them and ancestors of it? This is all part of the pharmaceutical push. And it'll come to an end very soon. Keshe Foundation has become extremely powerful in these things. We keep out everything. We've been spending a lot of effort in the background to keep things away from public. But very soon we respond to these things. Very soon. But what you tell me they're using, send this picture to the government of Poland and tell them how come the king is there himself using it, how can he do it? To me is in a way the revenge on where he came to make a threat, and this place it become his demise. Here in this room, I was ultimated by the king to leave the nation, or I'd be killed. That man in a pink trousers has made the life threat and he's carried it out. It's very interesting. Very interesting how it's not shocking to me what you said, but it was interesting to hear it, because we have number of pictures in this in our portfolio by the same people, and interesting, the pictures we never released. I don't know if the faces can be seen. It's very blurred, but the intimidation is very direct by the royal family. It's I'll give you another picture which I think will be very interesting if you submit it to the Polish government, or it can be done. Is this picture, and then there is another picture in this structure. There are pictures here. You will see we submit to the court, sitting with the king and the queen for an hour and a half in this meeting. These are part of the evidence submitted to European court, so you can use it as evidence. If a king says Kingdom of Belgium, if the Polish government is using it, how come the king and the queen go to the herbal places, the most exclusive herbal places? We can give you the name, people can go in the shop and take these pictures. There's a series of pictures taken, and our defense will use it, but you can use it as a defense. Let me see. Okay, it's the first time we released this in public, but it'll be good when you tell me these things. How come they ban where they're the users? You see now, the king is in the background and the queen in the front. And this is the full shelf. This shop sells hundreds of thousands of euros of herbal extracts a year. Upstairs, they have a postal system. When the post comes every day, I've sat in this cafe for 2 weeks writing this. Where you see my laptop, it's writing the 4th book on it, still on it. And you can see how the king and the queen are scrutinizing before they sat down for a coffee for an hour and a half. This is shocks me to hear, but this is how these things are. These become as part of public pictures in defense in the European Court of Justice. So how come they say they use a king's decree when the king himself is a user? Which decree?
And this is the thing now. I cannot find that detail. I'm googling the whole of the internet. It just says some decree of some Belgium king, but it doesn't say specifically. I know I read the details.
Ask for the decree and send me this picture. What decree when the king is a user himself? Or this was all pretense because they came actually to make it red. You gotta understand, this cafe is in one of the remotest places in Belgium, on top of a mountain. You have to drive off to pass it. It's not somewhere that you go bypassing it. And it is remote, totally remote. And the man in a gray hair, he spent a lifetime in Africa and he's brought all the African herbs and he's grown them, cultivate them in Belgium. So if there is such a decree, we can give you even the name of the cafe and the restaurant to go there. And how come they're still operating? Now they want to make the natural medicine to be certified. And there is a big problem with this, especially with the Chinese government promotion of the, what you call, Chinese herbal medicine. And it's very interesting. What are they going to do with the West? So there should be a ban on any European who comes to Asia or to the East to receive medical herbal treatment. Or when they go back, they should be put in prison according to these decrees and the bans. But you got to understand the strange thing with this position. We are involved. What I speak about it this way is we are actually involved directly in this process at this moment of time as part of the Keshe Foundation. The Chinese government is pushing forward with Chinese herbal medicine institutes across European countries and in the Western nation. It's part of the One Belt One Road, what do you call it, criteria. Promoting natural herbs, and in this process, we as Keshe Foundation are getting involved heavily into it. It's part of the work we are doing. And the new cycle of herbs, or what we call space medicine, which is coming into operation, is the merger of the Keshe Foundation, plasma technology and Chinese herbal medicine, and it's extremely effective. We're working with the top scientists in the country, literally the elite scientists. We have set up a structure for this. I was with them this afternoon, and it's part of the process. I don't understand how they can do this, but they're doing it. Anything which is profitable, they don't get something out of it. They're making it illegal. Because in Belgium is a small nation, and every corner shop in England, if you live in England, they say every corner shop there's a Pakistani shop. In Belgium, every corner shop is a chemist, and they have their hands in it. It's one of the most profitable businesses to be in. And chemists cannot sell herbal medicine. No, they want you to certify it, pay hundreds of thousands to get the net. What they are made of, they are making it to get the certification. The next step is to certify every food we eat, unless what food we say. Literally, that's all it is. It's part of the work of the One Nation program. We are working very closely with a number of governments with this. And if they want certification, there's no way East can meet West, because part of even the programs, which the 9 billion, what do you call it, 900 billion agreements, which China is supporting Italy, is one of the herbal institutes. Opening of the Chinese herbs institutes in Italy. Now Austria and Switzerland have joined the same team, so you will see it across Europe. It's very interesting. I'll get somebody to look into this very soon. You got to understand that in the West, the politicians are bribed heavily, extremely. The bribery in the political structure of the Western Europe is beyond, is worse than Africa. They point at Africa that African leaders taking bribes. The European leaders, ministers, cabinet ministers, prime ministers, presidents short term, take more bribes than the whole of African nations take in 1 century. Data is very, very clear. One of the prime ministers of England, in the term of his office, has taken over 30 billion pounds of bribes. 30 billion through the law firm. And it's a prime minister. They come into office as beggars, they leave the office as one of the richest people in the world. This is, and most of these comes through these acts. Pharmaceuticals pay them 1 or 2 billion, make a law in the parliament that nobody can use herbs. Don't do this, don't do that. One of the recent presidents in one of the top 5 nations in the world has walked away with over 100 billion bribes. $100 billion. There's a platform called, just established during our visit to Paris in last November 2018, on the 11th of November. This platform is called Leaders for Peace. And strange enough, President of the United States refused to attend this Leaders for Peace while he was in Paris at that time. It's trying to make, and Keshe Foundation has started working in this structure, that world leaders have to sign themselves into the peace. It's a brainchild of the French president, the new French president. You can go on the internet, you can read about it. And they're trying to get world leaders, not just leaders as a politician leaders, as scientific leaders, as entrepreneurs leading nations, to start structuring work of peace. It very much fits into the letter which we released in 2014 to Vatican as part of the World Peace Treaty. The French government has taken an extract from it. Vatican took an extract from it. They tried to bring the policy now. The French has done. If you read the mandate of the what we call Leaders for Peace, it's literally sentence out of the Keshe Foundation mandate, World Peace Treaty. They're trying to stop world leaders to take bribes, especially Western world leaders. If you just go on the internet and just look for it, it's on the 11th of November in Paris, where a number of world leaders attended for the celebration of the, what they call it, 11th of November celebration. And these are all part, the whole thing adds up as connected to each other. And as these meetings are regarding the Universal Council meeting and running of these things, this is part of what we will see. That's why we haven't given a vote and a decision to members of Universal Council. You cannot take a bribe and sit here, pretend to be, because you have no voting right. It's your own soul. It is very interesting how the structure of these things are coming up. It's called I put it for you, you can see it. We were in Paris during this time as part of another work which I was doing as part of the negotiations for Keshe Foundation. This is a forum. You can see it. It's called Paris Peace Forum, Global Platform Governance Project. And they're trying to do a lot of work on this. And the new French president's behind it. My wish, my hope is that that members of the Universal Council do not go down this road.
I'm present in your wish.
We're all present in the wish that we all keep our freedom. It's part of, as we said in the recent teachings, that we will announce in next, hopefully by by next Thursday, maybe this Thursday, I'm not sure yet, how that the first Keshe Foundation medical centers, health centers, will be opened up, and it's open for operation where people around the world can come to and book into it. And these things will have a will be work of the herbal medicine in conjunction with the Keshe plasma technology. Very much so. And I wonder how the West. It's a very good thing for the East, because people buy things on the internet now. They can't block it. Everything goes underground, and it goes outside. It doesn't stop. These things is ridiculous. How they come, people buy these things outside. We see a huge increase on the internet purchase of these herbal medicines. The reason we are following this herbal medicine is we're bringing the what we call Eastern herbal medicine into its old traditional way, using the new Keshe Foundation technology. Even today, we had a report from one of our test areas. The strange thing is, the farmers who farm these are feeling the difference when they use the areas which is processed through the Keshe Foundation plasma technology. And the farmers have reported to the farm owners and the government that they like this. It feels correct. They like the material they are harvesting now compared to other part of their farms where they harvest. They don't like to harvest that, or they've asked the what do you call it, the farm owners, which is on the test area, to use the same material for the whole area, whole farm, which is hundreds, thousands of actually it's a couple of million square meters of land in each section. And we're on the discussion table today, yesterday and today on this. The farmers themselves feel different in collecting the new materials, the new herb medicine, or anything they use in that direction. They say the herb feels different, and they feel good handling it. In the larger scale farming, which now we are involved in hundreds of thousands of square meter, the farmers who look after the farms report totally different psychological behavior. They're happy, they don't get sick. They want to be in the fields. They don't mind if they don't nothing, but they want to be in it. We are recording psychological development of the farmers. How do they feel? How do they behave? How the sickness rate. And the data is coming up gradually. Very, very interesting. We don't need to apply the herb. We can create the environment of the herb. We announce new breakthroughs in a way, in a different way. We are looking into herb strength as a plasma for deep space applications. We are getting involved in the space launch with governments as part of the Keshe Foundation operation. And then these are the things we are looking at. Naturally, we can create an environment that the body takes from the field of the environment. I wonder how they can profile these things and how they can stop it.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Anybody else? Any questions, please? I know Mr. Keshe is for a short time with us today. Nobody? We are nearly hitting our time, Rick.
Yeah, we're at about 3.5 hours or something like that, I think.
Yep.
I'm surprised that nobody has any questions for Mr. Keshe at this time. Maybe we need to ponder a bit. We'll catch him on the workshop, and the Knowledge Seekers workshop coming up on Thursday.
Yep. And maybe it's time to close the books for all of us. You're going to have an early start tomorrow. We have private teachings and public teachings tomorrow, and then we see Mr. Keshe back on Thursday morning.
Yes, indeed. So that's, as Carolina mentioned, the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group, which will be starts at 7 a.m. Central European Time on Wednesday. And people are welcome to show and tell any of their Keshe-related technology or devices, or have any questions or things they'd like to discuss, they can bring up in that surrounding. Otherwise, we look forward to the Knowledge Seekers workshop on Thursday with Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you very much, team. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for visiting us. And I hope, Pete, that your situation within Poland will change very fast. We know it will change because when the wish is expressed on the table, it starts working. And as I told you, you just came on the right time. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, team. And see you next time.
Okay, thank you, Carolina. Thanks to Mr. Keshe, and thanks to Flint for helping today, as well as everybody else who participated in today's workshop, and for those who will be listening in the future. This has been the 76th One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace for Tuesday, May 14th, 2019. And thank you, everybody. And I think Flint, thank you, Flint. Bye-bye.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Are you ready for a cost-effective, successfully proven innovation in pain relief? You need wait no longer. Introducing the Keshe Pain Pad. Using plasma technology, which is based on magnetic gravitational field interaction, the Keshe Pain Pad emits plasma fields that penetrate up to 3 centimeters below the skin, helping to bring the body back to balance. The Keshe Pain Pad offers a natural way to relieve acute and chronic pain for both young and old. All you have to do is apply the pad on affected areas for 1 or 2 hours once or twice a day. It's made with adaptive elastics that can form organically and comfortably to the contours of your body. It has no moving parts or batteries, it's lightweight, durable, easy to wear and easy to remove. The Keshe Pain Pad successfully reduces muscular pain, tendinitis, wrist pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, back pain, pain from sprains and strains, and knee pain, just to name a few. For a full list of relievable pains, consult the owner's manual or go to our website at www.keshefoundation.org. The Keshe Pain Pad, a cost-effective, successfully proven, natural way to relieve your pain.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.